We have seen people like Stephen Roach of Morgan Stanley, a Wall Street guru, say an economic Armageddon is imminent. How many people have credit cards? You may not trust them. You may think that they're rich capitalist, swine, dog, elitist, whatever you want to call them, but they're talking about their own money here. And when these guys talk, people listen, because the fundamentals are all clearly in place. And the problems are several-fold behind the economic crash that is coming that will be nothing like we have ever seen before. Start exploring precious metals, clearly. The only investment personally I will make is in physical gold. That's it. Gold that I own and I hold. Maybe some silver. I'm going to talk about gold. I'm a fan of gold. A great fan of gold. Physical gold. There's 5 times more paper gold out there than there is gold out of the ground. The price of gold, enormously well documented by a group called GATA, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, has been maliciously suppressed by the central banks who flood the gold market to keep the gold price down, because if you are an economist, economists traditionally believe that as long as the price of gold stays down, there's an economic hope. So you should still keep putting your money into the markets. They've been bombing the price of gold lately, but gold has still risen something like 25% in the last 3 years. So those of you who've been following FTW and you bought gold, hold on to it, because gold's going to break out very quickly.
How many people really get that there is such a thing as a housing bubble in this country?
I'm going to talk about the housing bubble. How many people own homes?
How many people here believe that that's your savings?
How many people have mortgages? Way too many hands.
How many people own your homes outright? Okay, let me flip the question. How many people have 1 mortgage? How many people have 2 mortgages? How many people have more than 2 mortgages?
How many people have lots of equity in your home, even though you're not paid off? All right, how many people have paid off less than 10 or 20% of the principal of your home? You wouldn't dare raise your hands anyway. How many people bought second homes on credit? How many people have refinanced their homes to buy consumer goods, vacations?
The housing bubble is a global bubble. LA Times just 4 days ago, it's not a bubble till it bursts. Housing values, you can expect them to drop 50% over a 2-year period. And people are being encouraged to borrow, to spend, which sustains the economy.
They are lending money to people who haven't got jobs to buy houses, to keep the bubble going. 0 down, 0 interest to buy a second home when people are sometimes mortgaged 110% on their first home. Does that make sense to you?
You know, people are getting surprised all over the world because their credit card rates, there's a little contract that says the credit card company can adjust the rates. And we were seeing people's minimum payments go from $200 a month to $450 a month just because the interest rate went from 5% to 18 or 24%. That's part of the falling dollar.
America is oversaturated. I mean, if I can sound like George Carlin for a minute, he did a great routine using the word shit, okay? You people can't buy any more shit because you got so much shit, you got no place to put your shit, and shit. You're so mortgaged up with your credit cards that you can't, you know, are you getting the picture? This country is totally in debt.
U.S. current account deficit may hit $900 billion next year. That's the trade deficit. We are buying everything overseas, and we're not making anything here, and we're getting all of our stuff made there, and it's all money flowing out, and then we borrow the money and we ship it back out, and you guys are in the middle as literally the conduit for this cycle, because you're encouraged to borrow and to spend beyond your means and not save so that you can keep this bubble afloat. And the United States government is literally about to tank and destroy the dollar.
So they stockpile and they run up their dollars, they run their economy, burn more oil, they get more dollars to buy more oil. To simplify this, I would say that a snake eating its own tail is not nutritious.
Right now, if I were to tell you the one thing that I thought you needed to do is get out of debt immediately.
Get out of debt, because when the economy crashes, you don't know how hard you're going to be hit, and you could wind up being indentured servants under the new bankruptcy law, which just passed last month. When these chickens come home to roost, the people who are in debt, and you know, there's stuff coming with civil liberties. We may have a debtor's prison here soon. The bankruptcy laws have changed. You want my advice on how to survive the first parts of peak oil? Get out of debt, because they're going to make you a slave and you will have no options to move anywhere, do anything, go any place, change any part of your lifestyle except for become indentured wage peon servants for the corporations for pennies of slave wage money to pay off debts, because you can no longer get out from underneath them due to the new bankruptcy law, which just passed 2 months ago. Are you aware about that? Yes. And the corporations will determine how much you can write off, how much money you're entitled to live on, where you can move, and where you can work. Your creditors will determine what's discharged, where you work, and how much money you get to live on if you go bankrupt. Indentured servitude. And yet, what do they put out to you every day? Buy, consume, breed, buy, consume, breed, more, buy, credit, easy, buy, get, go, taste, spend more. Get out of debt. I'm telling you, get out of debt. I have seen a completely new term creep into the lexicon around peak oil. And it just came out of the blue. It's called demand destruction. How do you destroy demand for oil? No. You collapse the economy. People who are out of work, unemployed, and starving don't drive cars, they don't take vacations, they don't borrow money, they don't buy second cars, they don't fly on airplanes. Demand destruction. And this term is coming out of the Council on Foreign Relations, it's coming out of the trilaterals, it's coming out of some of the big powerhouses up here, because one of the ways to mitigate the effects of peak oil is to destroy demand.